Hello beautiful friends, what is up and welcome back to the Loosely Bound YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing our December wrap up. So in December I was able to finish 8 books and we're going to talk about them right now. First of all, I was rereading Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I read it years and years ago when it first came out and it was one of my favorite young adult fantasy series, and I actually never got around to finishing the series, so I wanted to reread starting from the beginning so I could actually get all the way through it this time. Throne of Glass is about an 18-year-old assassin named Selena Sardothian who is a slave in the salt mines of Endovir because she is paying for her assassin crimes. The crown prince comes to her with an offer that if she agrees to fight in a huge duel battle type thing to become the king's champion and work for the king for about 4 years, then she can eventually earn her freedom and just be free and clear. So Selena agrees, and Throne of Glass follows her throughout her dueling to become the king's champion. And of course there's also some weird, funky, magical stuff happening in the castle. She has to figure out who's behind these series of attacks, and there's a little bit of a love triangle as well. The first time I read it, I gave it 5 stars. This time I gave it only 4 just because I'm a little older and I feel like it just didn't hit me quite the same as it did when I read it when I was in my early 20s, but still a super duper good read and I loved it. And I just realized I totally forgot to actually hold the book while I was talking about it. But here is Throne of Glass. This is what it looks like, and it's just a really good fantasy for that young adult genre. Next I read The Lost by Natasha Preston, and these books, bless their heart, these are like such a guilty pleasure read for me because the plots are always really predictable. The characters aren't that great, but I just love them. They're like how you have to watch those super cheesy Christmas Hallmark movies during the holiday season. It's the same way with these dang Natasha Preston books. Like, I know what I'm getting into when I pick them up. I'm not going to be blown away, but they're just such a guilty pleasure. I don't know. So The Lost follows 2 friends named Piper and Hazel that live in a town where kids just continue to go missing. So of course Piper and Hazel decide that they're gonna figure out what is happening to these kids. So as they start to investigate, they get abducted. I'm not going to tell you who abducts them because I don't want to ruin it for you if you want to check this out for yourself. But they get abducted. They get taken to a building that has a bunch of different rooms in it, and each different room is a different kind of torture. So there is like a sleep deprivation room where they don't let you sleep. There is a sensory overload room with sound, so they just play really loud noises, and just kind of like weird forms of torture like that. They're getting tested the whole time to see if they can survive these different rooms, and obviously they are trying to escape the whole time. Of course there's a little twist at the end. You can kind of see it coming, but you know, whatever. I don't hate these books. I don't love these books. They're just a guilty pleasure read. So I gave The Lost 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next thing that I read was The Return by Rachel Harrison. I actually just picked this one up because of the cover, because it is so bright and it's so creepy looking. Even though it's just a picture of a chair, there's a little shadow down here, and it just is totally beautiful to me and absolutely eye-catching. So I had never heard of Rachel Harrison before, and I believe this is her debut novel. Yes, this is her first novel. In The Return, there is a girl that goes missing for about 2 years. Her friends, her family, everyone has written her off as completely, you know, just dead because no one has seen or heard from her in a very long time. And then the friend returns. After she's back home for a few months, the group of girlfriends decide to go on a girls' weekend. They go to this really snazzy hotel and have all of these things planned, but once they get there, they start realizing that their friend is just not acting right. Something's up with her, she's just acting funny. Little things like she used to be a vegetarian and now she's eating meat again. And she just doesn't look healthy anymore. You can just tell something's not right with her. Oh, and did I mention that the friend can't remember anything that happened to her while she was gone for 2 years? Yeah, because that's a key point of the story. So all of the friends start trying to figure out what the heck is up with their friend, and it's a good time. It's a good, fun story. Not anything super over the top. Nothing blew me away, but this is one of those books that I kind of keep thinking about. Even though I finished it a few weeks ago, I still find myself thinking about, oh yeah, you remember that time where this happened, or that part where that happened, you know, those moments where you just kind of keep having like book flashbacks. I've had a lot of those with The Return. So if you're looking for something kind of spooky or a good thriller, check this one out. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I will definitely read whatever Rachel Harrison comes out with next. Then I read 5 Total Strangers by Natalie D. Richards. I picked this one up because it was actually on my Goodreads. They were doing a giveaway for this book, and I didn't win the giveaway, but it caught my attention and I still wanted to check it out. Then I was at Barnes & Noble, and in their little cafe area while I was getting a drink, I noticed that if you bought anything from the cafe, you could get this book for only $5. So I picked it up, and it was only after I had actually bought it that I realized that I had actually read another one of Natalie D. Richards' books before, and the one that I read before, I did not like it. But you know, I already had this one. I wanted to give it a try anyway, and unfortunately this one was just a flop for me as well. 5 Total Strangers talks about a girl named Mira who is trying to get home for the holidays. There's a terrible blizzard, and all of the airports get shut down. Instead of just waiting it out, Mira decides to hop in a car with 5 total strangers and try to get home that way. Once she's in the car, she realizes that everyone is a little bit off. People are keeping secrets, all of their stuff goes missing. Just a lot of little twists and turns that you can tell that she's definitely made a mistake by choosing to get in this car. So I really liked the idea of that plot line, but I just didn't like how it was executed. Like, I just felt like you kind of knew what was happening. They were trying to kind of direct you to think that one of the characters was the guy that was making all of the bad stuff happen, and you could just tell that that's what they were trying to do, so you automatically knew it was not going to be that guy. Just little things like that. It felt kind of boring. The writing didn't seem too well done in my opinion, but also I may just be a little too old for this book as well. I do really love young adult stuff, but I can tell that young adult books like this are just not right for me anymore. So maybe if you have like a younger cousin or something that wants to get into thrillers but nothing like too in depth, this might be a good one for them. But for me, I just didn't love it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Then I read a really good thriller. It was Final Girls by Riley Sager. If you've watched any of my other videos, I just talk about Riley Sager all the time because everything that I've read from Riley Sager has just been fantastic. So I read Final Girls on my Kindle app on my phone, and it was just good. Final Girls talks about girls that are the sole survivors of these massacres. So each one of the Final Girls' story is a little bit different, but they've all survived some kind of like mass serial killing, something like that. And the media has dubbed them as Final Girls because that's what you call the last girl standing in a horror movie. Our main character in Final Girls is named Quincy, and she survived all of her friends getting killed right in front of her at a cabin years and years ago, and now she has totally moved on with her life. She's running a really cool baking blog, she's got a long-term man in her life, and she just seems to be doing really well. Until she learns that another final girl that has actually spoken to her about how to survive and how to deal with the media always trying to be in your business and all of that stuff, and just offered a lot of support to her, has died. Not only died, but she has killed herself. After she learns of that girl's death, she's approached by another final girl that has completely fallen off of the map named Samantha. Quincy and Samantha seem to be really good for each other at the start, but as the book goes on, you start getting all these weird feelings and all of the Riley Sager wonderfulness ensues. Final Girls left me absolutely guessing what the heck was happening every second of the book after that. Riley Sager is the master of plot twists and turns, and you will never ever guess one of those endings. If you're looking for a really good thriller, a mystery, anything on the dark side, absolutely check this one out. It was a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads and just chef's kiss. Awesome. Next, I listened to The Queen's Gambit as an audiobook. If you guys want to check that out, they're giving it away for free right now as long as you are an Audible member. So just check out the link down below and I will direct you right on over to Audible for that. So The Queen's Gambit was amazing. I listened to it because I had seen the trailers on Netflix for the show. But before I watched the show, I wanted to either read or listen to the book. I do have a full review of The Queen's Gambit coming up. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe now so you can find that when it's released. The Queen's Gambit follows Beth Harmon, a child prodigy at chess. It's a coming-of-age tale, but from a genius's perspective because she's just like bing, bam, boom, an absolute natural at chess, and she's sweeping all of these grandmasters away, just blowing through tournaments and just winning the entire chess world. The Queen's Gambit does an amazing job of being technical, but also keeping a lot of emotion in the book, so it's a really good balance of both. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I absolutely recommend that you check that one out. After I finished The Queen's Gambit, I listened to The Silent Patient as an audiobook, and goodness gracious, this was one of my favorite books of 2020. I also 100% recommend that you listen to this book as an audiobook because there's 2 different perspectives, one coming from a girl and one coming from a guy, and they have narrators for both. So it was just an awesome audiobook experience. The Silent Patient is about a woman named Alicia who murdered her husband and then never spoke another word. She's sent to a psychiatric hospital, and her psychotherapist there is determined to figure out what happened and to get her to speak and just to help her through her recovery after, murdering her husband. The 2 perspectives that you follow come from the psychotherapist and Alicia's actual journal before she committed the murder. So you've got a little bit of that timing going back and forth, jumping from the past to the present, and the way that this story comes together was mind-blowing. This was absolutely one of my favorite books that I've listened to or read or consumed all year, and you have got to check this one out. And last but not least, I finally finished Can I Say by Travis Barker and Gavin Edwards. This is the Travis Barker memoir. You probably know him best as being the drummer of Blink-182, but he's also drummed for a ton of other bands, done a lot of solo stuff, and has a clothing line. He's a partner in a vegan restaurant and just all of this other stuff. Can I Say talks about how Travis started drumming all of his musical endeavors and then dives into all of the emotional things he went through as well, including his failed marriages, having kids, drug addictions, a plane crash that almost killed him and killed a lot of his really close friends. And it just went through all of the aspects of his life, but in a really raw and honest way. There's actually a dedication at the beginning of this book that says, "For my family, you made me who I am today. I'm not proud of everything in this book. Some of it makes my skin crawl with shame, but it's the truth." This is a totally raw version of Travis Barker's life, told from his perspective, but it's also peppered in with little snips of interviews with other people talking about how they know Travis and certain things that they experienced together. For example, there's excerpts from fellow bandmates, his ex-wives, family, a little bit of everything. And there's also a ton of photos of just different parts of Travis's life. So it's kind of cool just to see, where he started, where he is now, and all of the things that he accomplished in between. I really enjoyed this one, and nonfiction is typically not my thing, but I thought this one was really good. The parts about the plane crash where he almost died was actually really scary to read, and it almost made me a little nauseous and definitely very emotional. So it just hit a little bit different than I feel like a lot of nonfiction does, and I gave it 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. If you like punk rock music, hip hop, drums, celebrities, really intense life stories, check this one out because it was a good read for sure. It's the end of December right now, and I am almost done with Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. I just have about 200 pages left in that one, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it this month. If I don't, then we'll talk about it in my January wrap up. But that's all I read in December. Let me know if you guys have checked out any of these books, or if there's anything that you want to check out. I'll go ahead and post the links for all of them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in January. Bye.